He first saw her when he was just 12 years old. It wasn't in a classroom, or at a park, or even in a picture. He saw her in a dream. But this dream, it was so vivid, so crystal clear, it felt more real than waking life. There she was, a girl in a stunning red dress by a calm, glassy lake. Above them, the sky was a breathtaking shade of violet, a color he'd never seen before but instantly knew was his favorite. She didn't say a word to him. She didn't have to say a word. She just smiled, and it was no ordinary smile. It was a smile of recognition, one that whispered, "I know you. I know you. I've been waiting for you." It was a smile that reached deep into his soul and made him feel completely at home. And then, just like that, every single time he closed his eyes and drifted off to sleep, she returned. Always the same scene, the same striking red dress, flowing gently in a breeze he couldn't feel. The same tranquil lake, reflecting that impossible violet sky. He would see her, and a wave of calm would wash over him. He'd take a step toward her, his mouth opening to finally ask her name, to ask her anything. And then, his eyes would snap open. He'd be back in his bed, the morning sun streaming through his window, his heart pounding in his chest, the image of her smile already starting to fade like a photograph left in the sun. For years, he told himself it was just a dream. If your heart just whispered, "This is different," like and subscribe to Loverness, and let's keep chasing the kind of love that feels like a dream. A recurring fantasy created by his young, imaginative mind. Kids have the wildest dreams, don't you think? It's totally normal, right? He tried to shake it off, to move on from the girl by the lake. But honestly, it was impossible. That dream lingered like a sweet melody in his mind, refusing to fade away. Because it wasn't just a silent movie playing in his head, it was so much more than just a dream. The details began to seep into his everyday life, intertwining with reality in the most unexpected ways. He'd be walking to school, and a sudden downpour would start. He would smell the rain hitting the hot pavement, and instantly, he was back in the dream, smelling the scent of fresh rain in her dark hair. He'd see a certain shade of blue-green in a painting, and his breath would catch in his throat, because it was the exact color of her eyes. Sometimes, he'd find himself humming a simple, haunting melody, a tune he'd never heard on the radio or in a movie. It took him months to realize it was the melody she hummed in his dreams, soft and low, a lullaby just for him. He saw the way she tilted her head when she smiled, a subtle, curious gesture that he started noticing in strangers, always hoping one of them would be her. And then there was the feeling, that overwhelming, undeniable feeling. It was a sense of connection so profound, so ancient. It felt like he had known her for lifetimes. Not just this life, but countless others before. It was a love that didn't need introductions or explanations. It just was. He grew up, just like everyone else. The years passed in a blur of homework, exams, first jobs, and first heartbreaks. He navigated the complexities of life. People came and went, friends moved, relationships faded. Life was just a cycle of goodbyes, but she never left. She was the one, constant. Every few months, just when he started to think maybe, just maybe, he'd finally outgrown the dream, she would return. There she'd be, by the lake, in her red dress, with that all-knowing smile. He never told a single soul. How could he even begin to explain it? Who would ever believe him? His friends would just laugh it off, and his family, they'd probably think he was losing it. "Hey guys, so I think I am falling in love with a girl I've only ever met in my dreams." "Yeah, right." It sounded insane even to him. But how do you explain a love that feels more real than your own reflection? How do you describe a connection to someone you've never met, but somehow have already loved for your entire life? One night, when he was in his late 20s, lying in his apartment in the quiet hum of the city, he fell asleep and there she was. This time, he was determined. He felt a surge of desperation, a need for an answer. Before the dream could pull him away, before his alarm clock could shatter the moment, he looked straight at her and said, "I have to know. I have to know if you're real." For the first time, her expression changed. Her smile deepened as she stepped closer, and the dream seemed to pause. She whispered just 2 words, her voice like the rustling of leaves, a sound he'd known forever but was hearing for the first time. Find me. And with that, she dissolved, not like waking up, but like she chose to leave. The violet sky faded to black, and the lake vanished. He woke up in the dark, the echo of her voice still hanging in the silent room. That was the turning point. Find me. It wasn't just a challenge, it was an invitation, a promise that sparked a new journey. So, he started searching. But how do you find someone without a name, an address, or even a city? He didn't use maps or search engines. He searched with his heart. He started looking for signs, for symbols, for the strange, unexplainable coincidences the universe sometimes throws our way. He'd walk into a new coffee shop and his eyes would immediately scan for something, anything. Red. A red chair in the corner. A red-painted door. A book with a red cover left on a table. He'd hear a song on the radio with a melody that echoed the tune she hummed, and he'd listen to it on repeat for days, dissecting the lyrics for clues. He would stop to watch street artists, his heart pounding every time they started painting a figure, hoping to see a woman in a red dress. His friends called it an obsession. Maybe it was. But to him, it was an act of faith. Love was the heartbeat of his life, a thread that connected everything. Now in his 30s, the search for her had become a part of him, an unbreakable bond that quietly shaped his everyday moments. It's like she was always there, even when she wasn't. A quiet hum beneath the surface of his everyday life. Then, one rainy afternoon, the kind of day where the sky is a blanket of gray, he was walking home from work when a storm broke. The heavens opened up, and he ducked into the nearest doorway to escape the downpour. It was a small cafe, tucked between a bookstore and a flower shop, one he'd passed 1,000 times, but had never once noticed. He pushed the door open, the little bell above it chiming softly. He shook the rain from his coat, and as he looked up, the world stopped turning. There she was, sitting by the window, a steaming mug cradled in her hands. She was wearing a red dress. Her hair was damp from the rain. She looked up from her book as the bell chimed, and her eyes, that exact shade of blue-green, met his. And she smiled, the same smile, the one he had known his entire life. It was a smile full of stories, of patience, of lifetimes of waiting. He stood there, frozen, unable to speak, unable to breathe. And then she spoke, her voice just as he remembered from that final dream. Took you long enough. No one ever believed him when he told the story. That's okay. Some love stories don't ask to be believed. They just ask to be told. And that's what we do here, on Love and Us. We tell the stories of the love that's strange, the love that's beautiful, the love that seems impossible, but is absolutely true. Subscribe to our channel, because your incredible story might just be the next one we share. Love isn't always found in the real world first. Sometimes it finds us in our dreams, and it waits patiently for us to be brave enough to believe. Thanks for watching.